All right, welcome to the introduction of Commercial Music Theory 1. With music theory, what we do is we take the sounds that we hear and play and sing, and we link those with a set of symbols and terms so that every performer, songwriter, producer can speak the same language and collaborate successfully in a variety of situations that involve music. In his video, Learn Music Theory in Half an Hour, Andrew Huang says, music theory is the language behind music. It gives you the tools you need to understand, interpret, and communicate about music. So as we start to apply the symbols and terms like names and letters and numbers to music, I want to point out that the piano was probably the best instrument to use for visualizing the things we'll talk about in this class. It's really easy to visually map out the little picture and big picture concepts of music theory on the piano keyboard. So for you, the ideal situation for this class and for your piano class and your sight singing class would be to have your own keyboard at home to practice with. So if you can make this happen, do it. Also, there are pianos in the practice rooms in the Ball Performing Arts Center. And I will, if none of those things are in place for you, or if you're in a place where you just can't get to those options, I will provide you with links to virtual keyboards online that will allow you to see the keyboard and play notes and chords and see that whole layout on your phone or on your computer. All right, so let's get started. So in music, varying lower and higher sounds are called pitches or notes. In written music, the notes are represented by ovals or note heads, little ellipses that sit on a staff. The staff is a series of 5 lines and 4 spaces that act as a kind of graph that charts changing pitches or sound going higher and going lower. On the staff, notes that sound higher are placed higher, notes that sound lower are placed lower. So notice that on the piano keyboard, as notes move to the right, they sound higher. As notes move to the left, they sound lower. The notes on the staff are named using the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and those are the only letters we use. After you get to the G, the pattern starts again with A, then B, then C, and so on. Notes are placed on lines and spaces on the staff. We number the lines and spaces from the bottom to the top. That helps us communicate and know as we're talking to one another which line or space that we mean, or which A or which C that we're talking about. So lines 1 through 5, with the line 1 being on the bottom. Then there are spaces 1 through 4, with the first space being there at the bottom. Now, to know which lines and spaces go with which notes, we assign a clef to the staff. And a clef comes at the beginning of the song, often at the very beginning of every line of music, and it points out one particular note to us that helps us know what all the other notes on the staff are. So right now, we're using the treble clef. There are other clefs that are used in music, but this is very commonly used. It's the treble clef. It looks like a fancy G that curls around the second line. So the second line is G, and there's the G on the keyboard, and there it is on the staff. Okay? So using what we already know about the musical alphabet and what notes are in there, what letters are in there, what would be the note that comes after G? If you had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the next note is A again. So there's G. All right, so the next note, if we moved up on the staff from that G on the second line, which the treble clef marks out for us, the next space up from G is an A. And then on the third line comes B. On the third space comes C. On the fourth line is D. On the fourth space is E. On the fifth line is F. And we can even go farther. There's a note that sits right on top of the staff, and we consider it to be a space. Last note we hit was F, so after F comes G. So there's a G on top of the staff. There's the G that the treble clef marks out for us. It's on the second line. If we go down from that G on the second line, we go from the second line to the first space. That's an F, right? And then if we go from the first space down to the first line, there's an E. Now, we can keep going, and often we do. There's a note that sits on the bottom of the staff, and we consider that to be a space, just like we considered the G up at the top to be a space. That D is a space. And then very often we keep going even farther than that, and now we have to use a thing called a ledger line. So when you need extra lines and spaces above or below the staff, you use these to add notes that sound higher or lower than the notes already on the staff. So this first line under the triple clef is the line for the note middle C. And that's a very important reference point in piano music. When you have two staffs joined together, in piano music, use the treble clef on top and the bass clef on bottom. This C sits right in the middle between those two staffs, and use those two clefs. So there's middle C. And to find middle C, it is the C that sits right in the middle of the piano keyboard. And there it is. So things to remember. The staff, made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces. Clefs are symbols that tell us how to find the correct letter names on the lines and spaces of the staff. Right now, we are using the treble clef, which identifies the second line as a G. The musical alphabet has the letters A through G and then starts over on A, and that sequence of letters continues in both an ascending and descending fashion up and down the piano keyboard. Finally, we found the note middle C on the piano.